Hello and welcome to the Killgerm podcast. This is a bit of an emergency podcast, just a quick reaction, so it's a little bit different to the usual format. I'm just going to be talking about the news that I'm sure you've all heard around the withdrawal of Ficam W. I'm joined by Dr. Matt Davies, who is the head of the technical department here at Killgerm. We have already had Matt on the podcast on our maiden episode regarding Asian hornets and, surprise, surprise, a product withdrawal. That time it was Fendona 6SC and this time it is Ficam W. So Matt, it's a bit of an open question here, but what has actually happened?
There's been a press release from Bayer announcing the withdrawal of Ficam W, so quite a surprise and a bit of a shock, to be honest. I'm disappointed. It's a very useful product indeed, used by many of our customers, and a bit of a number one solution for most insect problems. It's not an immediate withdrawal. There is a time span for this. The dates haven't yet been confirmed, but I can tell you a bit more about what we project for that, if that's of interest.
Yeah, definitely. Is this affecting any other Bayer products, namely Ficam D?
No, it's not affecting Ficam D, so we've got to be clear on that. When we say Ficam, we mean Ficam W and not Ficam D. And the time frame for the withdrawal, although the dates haven't been issued as of yet, there will be that 6-month sellout period for manufacturers and distributors. And following that sellout period, there'll be a further period for use by pest controllers, and that's another 6 months. 180 days is what the press release says, but in straight talking language, that's a 6-month period. So there's a little bit of lifespan left in it just for now. So when that date does come, what alternatives do we have? I probably imagine people will maybe make a small stockpile of Ficam W, and that will be understandable just to see them out through that period. But after that time has elapsed, then probably the closest option is the Bayer product Chaothrin Partix. That covers most of the areas of use and the typical pest that Ficam W has on its label. So there is something available which will be good, but of course you can't replace Ficam W like for like.
Yeah, so anyone who came to any of our workshops sort of towards the back end of 2019 will have seen a talk from Richard Mosley, who is at Bayer, and certainly knows this stuff around Chaothrin Partix. But he was also on the podcast episode 2 talking about Partix. So if you do want any more information on that, then just head straight back over there. Wherever you're listening to this one from, whether that be Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or on the Killgerm website, just go and give that a listen. I know a massive benefit of Ficam W was its resistance management, but is this still possible?
This is it. The active ingredient bendiacarb has a different mode of action to the typically used synthetic pyrethroid. So Ficam W as a resistance management tool, particularly for bedbug control, was essential really, something that Killgerm recommended in a 3-treatment programme, and Bayer recommended themselves, of course, for resistance management. So it's disappointing to lose that. We've been in disappointing positions before. We've lost favoured products like Empire 20, Demand CS and Stingray. We've been there before. It's not quite the end of pest control as we know it, but we do need to think about other resistance management options. A few of those, there are physical mode of action products, Vaser Ice, the freezing product, Vaser Prevector, the physical immobilisation product. Remember that Symmetrol Super contains an insect growth regulator, and there's a product called Biopren as well that contains an insect growth regulator for bedbug control, which is quite useful.
I know that we at Killgerm ourselves have launched some physical mode of action products recently that I'm sure is going to help some people through the healing process of losing Ficam W. And yeah, they're different in the sense that it's not a true insecticide, as it were. But is there any other wettable powders and sachet products that are still around?
That's right, there are similar formulations available, and if you find that was a helpful feature of Ficam, the formulation, then there is a Citrol Forte wettable powder product available with some similarities to Ficam W. It's not bendiacarb, the active ingredient, it's a synthetic pyrethroid, but the label is quite broad, covers a wide range of areas of use, and many different pest species are on the label, so that's something that could be worth thinking about, and there are other sachet products available too.
So looking forwards and not backwards now, I know in the past when we have lost products, there has been other insecticides brought out as a replacement. So is there more new insecticides on the horizon?
It's always worth keeping a lookout for these things. We do anticipate at some point the Demand CS product to return, so keep an eye out for that one, an encore for Demand CS. For those of you that have used the Advion cockroach bait in the past, then we hope to see a sprayable version of that based on indoxacarb, an Advion wettable dispersible granule product. That's available in certain parts of the world, so keep a watch out for that in the UK. And I think going back to Chaothrin Partix from Bayer are committed to new technology, novel formulations, and that particular product involves Carnauba Wax, helping its residual effect, and the particle size means it's available to insects rather than being lost in cracks and crevices. So we might see more developments in that area, building on existing active ingredients and enhancing their effectiveness with new formulations.
Okay, so what else can you tell us?
Yeah, just going back to the press release and make sure we cover off a couple of important points. It's worth saying that Bayer did make significant investment in time and money on the resubmission of Ficam W, and it was victim to a vote from the EU Biocide Commission. That's part of the withdrawal issue there, but they've certainly put time and effort into retaining Ficam W. The other thing in the press release is that Bayer will be letting the industry know very soon about the specific dates for when the sellout period kicks in, followed by the use-up period. So 6-month sellout period, followed by a 6-month use-up period, dates to be confirmed.
So if people do have other questions, then where can they go to for further technical advice?
Absolutely. Best thing to do is pick up the phone and speak to the technical department at Killgerm. I would say that, no surprise there. But of course, Bayer are very happy to answer questions as well. I think it's an interesting one because Ficam W makes our lives relatively easy in terms of technical advice. I remember when I first joined Killgerm in 2005, and I was listening intently to my colleague John Kay at the time. John sadly passed away this year, so all respect to John. I heard John pick up the phone, and he was speaking to a pest controller. I say he was speaking, John was absolutely silent. The pest controller was telling a story about an insect problem. John kept quiet throughout the whole thing, and he only uttered 2 words, Ficam W. Then click, hung up the phone, and that was his technical advice. It was brilliant and straight to the point, just like John, and that stuck in my head from 2005 up until now. So like I say, wide variety of pests, huge areas of use on the label, made technical advice relatively straightforward. Ficam does most things. Another little thing I remember was delivering an insect course at Osset, and there were 2 guys at the back of the class that started to giggle every so often. I thought, what are they doing? Good guys having a laugh, so I poked fun at them during lunch break. I figured out, they told me, they had a sweepstake going for how many times I said Ficam W. I can't remember who won it, but they both passed their exam anyway. But yeah, going back to the more serious stuff, then speak to the technical department, speak to the trade associations, go to the manufacturers. There's plenty of support out there, and we'll learn as we go.
So in summary, it's, people have used Ficam W for over 40 years, and it is a huge loss to the industry, but there is alternatives out there.
This is it. It's a big loss. It's part of our industry, and at over 40 years, it's older than me. I'm 36, so Ficam's been around longer than I have, and we can be reassured the manufacturers are investing in research and development of new products, so there are things to look forward to despite this disappointment. So let's keep our eyes on the future.
Well, thank you for joining me, Matt. I think that it certainly needed addressing. It's good to know that it's not the end of pest control as we know it, as you put it, and that there is alternatives out there, but obviously it is a tricky time for pest controllers, for the industry in general. Now, for your CPD points for basis prompt for this Killgerm podcast episode, head to podcast.killgerm.com and enter the code EP-FW-1219 along with the rest of the details that it asked for. If you want full details on the CPD schemes for both basis prompt and the BPCA, go back to either the first or second Killgerm podcast and listen to those where I explain it. We will be back with our regular podcast at the start of next month, where we have a bird control special. See you then.